Surprised that it's skewed toward the southeast, given where Amazon's headquarters are. But my partner, Ali, has already thrown some cold water on this, saying, well, listen.
It's kind of all obvious, right? All the stuff is obvious. They've taken out all these cities that would need to build infrastructure and do something. So the point is, nobody's going to get a big gain from it. You'll get a lot of jobs, which would be great.
Yeah, I mean, 50,000 jobs over the next 10 to 15 years. And I also want to note that Amazon has said that the average annual salary of those jobs is going to be $100,000. So there's a lot at stake here. And you guys are right. I mean, none of these metro locations are all that surprising. They do fall in the Midwest, South, and East Coast of the country. But what may be a little surprising is that, you know, Los Angeles is the only city on the West Coast. I mean, our biggest tech companies are headquartered on the West Coast, and here you have only LA. So clearly Amazon is moving away from its current headquarter, which is Seattle. I'll also mention a few other ones that are interesting. Toronto, that's my hometown, and it is the only city that is outside of... Yeah, that's right, Ali. Yep. Exactly. We are fellow Canadians. Yep. You know, while it's not surprising in the sense of it has the transportation infrastructure, it has, it can tap into a lot of nearby talent in Waterloo, but what is surprising is, you know, in the current political environment, would Bezos really invest $5 billion and 50,000 jobs outside of the U.S.? Another location, though, is Washington, D.C. Bezos, remember, owns the Washington Post. That's where that is. So, you know, there is some interesting tidbits in here.
So the one thing is, we always like these things when they go to places that say, all right, well, we'll build a subway or we'll build an infrastructure, we'll build something.
Most of these places giant tax cuts.
Right. Now, so what is going to happen? Is it going to be a race to the bottom and that these cities, these 20 cities now say, how do I sweeten the pot with incentives to Amazon to get them to choose my city?
Prettying up their towns just to win this deal.
Lipstick on the urban pig.
Well, Stephanie, Newark, New Jersey, right, offered billions of dollars in incentives.
Excuse me, Newark needs no lipstick. It is beautiful.
I don't know when last year in Newark it could use a little lipstick, just saying. I like Newark.
Well, I mean, billions in breaks, incentives, that doesn't hurt, regardless. So, you know, they've already been sweetening the pot. There was all these sort of things that cities across North America were doing before when they received 238 applications. We were actually in Seattle at Amazon the day that the applications were due, and we saw a lot of representatives from these cities come in to make their pitch in person.
All right, Deirdre.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us on this. I just wish there were like 3 that were not
in
obvious.
The most recent rose ceremony, we know the cities that have made it to the next round. If I was a betting woman, I don't think Toronto's going to get it, but we'll see. All right, thank you for watching this hour of Velshi and Rule. I'm Stephanie Rule.
I'll see you back here at 3 o'clock. Right now, it's time for Andrea Mitchell Reports.
And right now on Andrea Mitchell Reports, who's the boss? President Trump reportedly furious with his chief of staff over John Kelly telling House Democrats that candidate Trump was uninformed about immigration and that wall.
He has evolved in the way he's looked at things. Campaign to governing are 2 different things, and this president is very, very flexible in terms of what is within the realm of the possible.
The president is responding on Twitter. More on that coming up. Moving target. The president tweets that he does not like the latest Republican compromise to avoid a shutdown, raising the possibility of no deal before the deadline tomorrow night.
Could happen. See what happens. It's up to the Democrats.
And love is in the air. The Pope makes history at 30,000 feet when he married 2 flight attendants on his plane while flying over South America.
It's never happened before on a papal plane, and that is the Pope married a couple who hadn't been married in church. It's totally legit, and everyone's happy.
Good day. We brought that to you because there should be something to be happy about today. I'm Andrea Mitchell in Washington. No happiness here. The battle over immigration driving a wedge between the president and his chief of staff. For the first time, President Trump publicly at odds with John Kelly, who said candidate Trump was, quote, not fully informed when he promised a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico.
There's been an evolutionary process that this president has gone through as a campaign, and I pointed out to all of the members that were in the room that they all say things during the course of campaigns that may or may not be fully informed. He's very definitely changed his attitudes towards the DACA issue and even the wall.
That Kelly explanation on Fox last night didn't quite do the trick. In an early morning tweet storm, President Trump today pushing back hard, reiterating his promise to build the wall. The latest White House clash coming amid critical negotiations with Congress to avoid a government shutdown tomorrow night, and the looming fate of hundreds of thousands of so-called dreamers. Joining me now is NBC's Peter Alexander at the White House, MSNBC's Garrett Haake on Capitol Hill, and MSNBC's Jacob Soboroff in New York. Peter, first to you. It's always quite a drama when you have one of these deadlines for a government shutdown. But in this case, where the president and his chief of staff are not even agreeing on what he said and what he would be negotiating on, we have another layer of confusion.
Yeah, Andrea, I think that's right, not just on the issue of immigration, but more broadly. This morning, the president tweeted about one of the key sweeteners that's in this deal right now that reauthorizes what's called CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, for 6 more years. The president said CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension. It appeared the president wasn't entirely clear on exactly the fact that this was, in fact, a longer-term solution for CHIP more broadly. There is a statement the White House has posted to try to clarify the president's position on this. The White House had previously said the president liked the CR. They are putting out a statement to make that clear. Politico posting that the president, according to one of the press secretaries, Raj Shah, the president supports the continuing resolution introduced in the House. They go on to say Congress needs to do its job and provide full funding of our troops and military with a 2-year set of budget caps deal. However, as the deal is negotiated, the president wants to ensure our military and national security are funded. He will not let it be held hostage by Democrats. Important to note, the military does not just shut down even when there is a government shutdown. However, those soldiers and other members of the armed forces may not get paid until the shutdown concludes. But the bottom line right now is this is the first time the president's been at the helm during one of these shutdown showdowns, and his sort of negotiating style is evidenced by the back and forth with John Kelly, and that tweet on CHIP this morning show that at times it can be a little bit more of a complicating factor. Andrea?
Yeah, Garrett Haake, you even had John Cornyn, one of the Republican leaders, pointing out that this is a 6-year extension of that child health program, not a short-term extension. So what is the outlook there? You've been going through the halls, talking to people. They are losing some Democrats who wanted to go for this child health extension and give up on the Dreamers. Others are saying now that the Dreamers, it's an absolute bottom line. They'll take the shutdown. And then both sides gaming who would get the blame. Clearly, the Republicans in control in both houses and the White House have a bigger political challenge there.
Right, there's 2 different sets of problems here, but they have the same through line, and that is that no one in either house really knows where the president stands on a lot of these key issues. On the House side of this, the president's tweet this morning makes it a lot easier for Democrats to walk away from supporting this spending deal. If they can say the president doesn't even really support this extension of the Children's Health Insurance Program, then why should I? And make Republicans find the votes to do this on their own. And before the president even tweeted this morning, the House Freedom Caucus chairman was saying that the conservatives in the House don't think leadership can get it done. There's some back and forth there on the House side. On the Senate side, you see John Cornyn's tweet. You heard frustration from Mitch McConnell yesterday on the immigration part of this, saying they don't know where the president stands. And that's increasingly what I'm hearing talking to senators from both parties. They want to see some presidential leadership on this. They want to know what kind of deal can be struck. And Andrea, just within the last 10 minutes, a very interesting new wrinkle in this. On the Senate floor, Jerry Moran, Republican senator from Kansas, just put forward the idea of doing an even shorter CR, a handful of days, just getting into next week, on the idea that it would force these parties to negotiate on the DACA portion of this, potentially, essentially jamming up the White House and the other negotiators on this, and see if they can't force a deal through, setting all these other issues aside just for long enough to get this done. That's something that sort of the Graham-Durbin forces are excited about. It's an intriguing possibility, and we'll see where it goes. The next 36 hours up here are going to be very interesting.
Get your running shoes on. That, of course, is the possibility of a compromise on the Dreamers, which went completely off the rails after that presidential comment last week. So, Jacob Soboroff, you have revisited a Dreamer that you first met at Cal State Fullerton and talked to the people who are really affected by this. I wanted to play some of that and then come to you.
Your sister was telling me she thinks about studying abroad if deportation ever happened. Do you ever run through your options in your head, what you might do?
Yeah, I'm pretty set on staying here. Whatever happens, happens.
These next couple days could be pretty crucial to whether or not there's a fix to DACA.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in limbo a little bit?
We were never secure. We knew that DACA was a temporary aid.
So you feel like the clock's ticking?
It does feel like that a little bit. I read somewhere that the federal agency that oversees DACA is taking applications again.
Are you going to try to renew?
Yeah, of course.
Jacob Soboroff, California has more dreamers than any other state.
Andrew, it's 800,000 total across the country, and that's what we have to remember is that wrapped up in all the political wrangling back on the Hill are these people who came to the United States illegally by no fault of their own when they were children. And I met that young woman, Miriam, about 4 months ago down at Cal State Fullerton when she was in limbo, not knowing whether or not the Trump administration was going to pull DACA. Ultimately, obviously, a couple days later, they did, and Jeff Sessions made that announcement. Now they're sitting here waiting very closely. The approach is really interesting with these young people. What they're going to do, depending on whether or not there is a fix to DACA. Miriam, the young girl, told me that she might go study abroad if she gets deported, not go back to Mexico. She has never been there other than being born there. And then her brother, of course, who you just heard from, said he's going to lay low. He's going to try to stay in Los Angeles if they're not able to fix this thing and wait to see if they come and find him.
Well, Jacob Soboroff, thank you. Peter Alexander, thank you so much. And, of course, Gareth Hake. And joining me now is California Attorney General Javier Becerra, a former Democratic congressman. I bet you're happy not to be on the Hill anymore. But you, as a top California official, have the legal responsibility to perhaps enforce this if it comes to a showdown for all of your young residents.
Yeah, Andrea, I remember those days on the Hill, yes. And you never want to watch a B-rated movie more than once anyhow. I will tell you that I think it's unfortunate what's going on. There is bipartisan support for a DACA agreement that would give permanent status. There is, I believe, bipartisan support to renew the Children's Health Insurance Program that will put millions of kids in jeopardy if it isn't extended, and Republicans took away the lifeline, as you sort of mentioned, and using the word lifeline previously, and now it's on the brink again. And I think if Congress had its own way to do this without the interference of the White House, a good agreement could be reached. But as you just mentioned, it seems like the White House continues to get in the way. And I would hope that they would work feverishly. There is no reason why a good budget, a good agreement on DACA, and a good agreement on the Children's Health Program couldn't get reached now.
And when you talk about some of the cases that the president keeps using, one of them is a big California case regarding someone who was here illegally. So this whole immigration issue is very focused on your state. Enforcement, people who don't get picked up. What more can you do with Homeland, perhaps, to protect people from those cases that do crop up? This has been one of the president's big arguments.
On a daily basis, in fact, including today, my division of law enforcement in the Department of Justice here in California is likely working with ICE, with FBI, with DEA on trying to go after the drug traffickers, the sex traffickers, the potential terrorists. We're working day to day with them. What we're not willing to do is do the job of the federal government when it comes to deportation enforcement. That's their job. They shouldn't try to commandeer us to do their work. And we're certainly going to make sure that whatever they do according to the law. They've got a lot of very hard-working folks in law enforcement, including in ICE. We understand that they have that responsibility. We'll work with them where we can in doing the types of work that keep our people safe, but they should not ask us to be doing immigration enforcement in California when we're trying to keep the streets safe of the criminals that are roaming. And so there's a clear way to move forward, something that we continue to do with our partners at the federal level in law enforcement. There should be no disagreement here, and we can just do this the right way.
What about ICE? Reports that ICE is planning a massive Northern California immigration sweep to strike against sanctuary laws.
Well, this, again, is rumors. It's like the rumors going on about deals in Washington, D.C. on the budget and the rest. It's all rumors. We obviously are going to be prepared to deal with what happens in our state of California. Again, we expect everyone to respect the U.S. Constitution. We expect our folks here in California to respect California's laws, and we'll make sure that everyone's aware of their rights and their responsibilities. And California has some new laws in place starting 2018, and I would urge everyone to make sure that they understand what their rights and responsibilities are, because as the saying goes, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
What are you telling dreamers to do in these very tenuous days?
I just did a press conference with the leaders of our 3 institutions of higher education, the University of California system, the California State University system, and our California Community College system, where all of us, all 4 of us came together to say, right now, the Department of Homeland Security is taking applications again to renew your authorization under DACA for another 2 years with your work permit. You should seriously consider doing that. Talk to someone who gives you good legal advice, whether an attorney or someone you trust, and then make a decision. But right now, there's a possibility for you to renew your status, and you should.
I also wanted to ask you about marijuana legalization because you have joined 18 other attorneys general urging Congress to advance legislation to enable the marijuana industry to participate in the banking system in states that have legalized medicinal or recreational pot, because there is an effort to perhaps retaliate against banks, and the banks are obviously nervous about financing some of these startups.
Andrea, I think California made the right decision. We've decided to regulate, not criminalize, marijuana, and we have a lot of people who come forward who want to do it above ground. They don't want to do underground economy stuff that's against the law. They're willing to follow the rules, get a license, get a permit, report their income. We think that's the way to do this, and it makes it tough when these businesses that are out there doing it transparently can't find a way to bank their business. And if you have to do everything with cash, that becomes dangerous for everyone. And so we're asking the federal government to help us make sure that those who want to do this the right way, the legitimate way, and pay their taxes and show us exactly how they're doing their business the right way, they should be able to bank the way any other business, legitimate business, can. And so our effort, and it's a bipartisan effort, is to make sure that this industry does it the right way, not the way it's been done in the past, the wrong way.
California Attorney General Javier Becerra, thank you very much. Thanks for being with us. A lot on your plate today. And coming up, crisis management. President Trump meeting with the military officials, top military brass at the Pentagon in the tank. This hour, we'll tell you what the commander-in-chief said about Russia's involvement with North Korea. That's coming up next on Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
It takes a lot of work to run this business, but I really love it. I'm on the move all day long, and sometimes I don't eat the way I should. So I drink Boost to get the nutrition I'm missing.
Boost High Protein Nutritional Drink has 15 grams of protein to help maintain muscle and 26 essential vitamins and minerals, including calcium and vitamin D, all with a great taste.
Boost gives me everything I need to be up for doing what I love.
Boost High Protein. Be up for it.
So, that goal you've been saving for, you can do it. We can do this.
At Fidelity, our online planning tools are clear and straightforward, so you can plan for retirement while saving for the things you want to do today.
I don't know why I didn't get screened a long time ago. I kept putting it off. What was I thinking?
Okay, Mr. Jones, we're all done.
I told you it was easy.
With Lifeline screening, getting screened for unknown health conditions is so quick, painless, and affordable, you'll wonder why you hadn't done it before. So if you're over age 50, call now and schedule an appointment near you. For just $149, a savings of over 50%, you'll receive a package of 5 screenings that go beyond your doctor's annual checkup. Ultrasound technology looks inside your arteries for plaque that builds up as you age and increases your risk of stroke and heart disease. After all, 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke, their first symptom is a stroke. So call today and start with a free health assessment to understand your best plan of action.
So why didn't we do this earlier?
Lifeline screening. The power of prevention. Call now to learn more.
You take care of business. Let Office Depot Office Max take care of you. And this week only, all PCs are on sale. Save $250 off this HP laptop. Plus, protect your investment with an accidental protection plan. Office Depot Office Max. OfficeDepot.com.
I feel incredibly grateful that I stumbled upon TalkSpace. I was matched to the perfect therapist. She makes me think in the best way possible. This has been a life-changing experience.
Join more than 500,000 people who already text their therapist wherever they go for only $39 a week. Join now and get $35 off. TalkSpace. Therapy for how we live today.
What if you could magically split your phone in half and have one for personal calls and one for business calls? And what if the business side of your phone came with a receptionist? 2 phone lines, 1 phone. Magic. Add an extra phone line to your mobile just for business. Try eVoice free for 60 days. Go to evoice.com/TV.
The ATF says they were shot at. Rush says the ATF fired first. Any idea who's telling the truth?
People died today!
This is a U.S. government we're up against.
I am trying to help you people.
God spoke to me. He ain't coming out.
Waco, a 6-part television event, premieres Wednesday at 10 on Paramount Network.
At this hour, President Trump is now meeting with senior military leaders at the Pentagon as North and South Korea overnight agree to field a joint women's hockey team. That's a first, and to march together at next month's Winter Olympics under the Korea unification flag. This, however, could undercut the Trump administration's efforts to take a hard line against Kim Jong-un. President Trump is expressing his frustration also in an exclusive interview with Reuters, saying Russia is not helping us at all with North Korea. That's the issue of smuggling. Barry McCaffrey is a retired 4-star Army general and an MSNBC military analyst and joins us now from Hawaii. Thank you very much. General, I wanted to ask you about this. There was the summit in Vancouver that I was covering where Tillerson and others are trying to take a hard line against smuggling. They're talking about maritime interdictions possibly. And now overnight you've got this North-South agreement that is making Japan very nervous and making the U.S. officials nervous about too soft a signal coming toward Kim Jong-un. Do you have any concerns about that?
Yeah, I think so. Look, Andrew, for the last 40 years, 3 generations of this family have provoked the United States and the regional partners, then demanded negotiations, then got a reward, and then provoke again. So we shouldn't assume anything's going to come out of the North-South dialogue, not that it's necessarily bad. The economic sanctions may well indeed be having an impact on North Korea. But at the end of the day, it is impossible to imagine that the North Koreans will denuclearize. So to some extent, this is all background noise. We got to go through the motions, but we need to be prepared to live with a nuclear-armed North Korea that can threaten the United States.
At the same time, they have reiterated over and over again, the administration officials, Tillerson yesterday and overnight on his flight back, that denuclearization is their demand. It's their goal before any talks can take place.
Well, no question. It looks to me as if we're in this binary decision process. We can either, at the end of the day, mitigate the danger of a nuclear-armed North Korea with ICBMs that could reach the entire United States within a couple of years, or we can entertain the notion of a conventional first strike. I don't think we're going to do the latter because the immediate impact would be a disaster.